The Secrets of Star Wars is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com.
Hello there. Obi-Wan Kenobi here, also known as James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan, Jedi Master Plo Koon, and many other characters in the world of Star Wars. You're listening to... Shh, don't tell. It's The Secrets of Star Wars. May the Force be with you.
Hello there.
It's a power that Jedi have that lets them control people and make things float.
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
It's against my programming to impersonate a deity.
That's not how the Force works.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force, and I fear nothing.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
You're listening to The Secrets of Star Wars, where we talk about everything connected to that galaxy far, far away. From movies to books, TV shows, and more, we're looking at the deeper themes and meanings found in the Star Wars universe. And today, as a lead up to the new animated series, Maul Shadow Lord, we are doing a deep dive into the character of Maul. I'm your host, Jeff Haecker, and joining me today on the panel is Kathryn Lafrey. Hey, Kathryn.
Hey, Jeff.
And Mike Creavey. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Jeff. How's it going?
It's going well. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
All right. So before we kind of get into the biography of Maul, I just wanted to ask just to intro for a moment. So if you've never seen it, which how have you not seen it? Maul was first introduced in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, played by the actor Ray Park. And then when he came back in the Clone Wars and Rebels and now Shadow Lord, he is voiced by the great voice actor Sam Witwer. But as far as first impressions of Maul, do you remember the first time you saw the movie Episode 1 and the Duel of Fates? Did you freak out when you saw the double lightsaber, or just any memories of that? I know it's been a couple decades now, but just thought I would ask, and that's our first really introduction to this character when we see that double lightsaber go.
Oh, best theme song. For a villain, that is. I mean,
yeah.
Well, I'm looking here too, because I was sort of cheating. I forgot to look ahead of time, and I'm looking at the background on the trailer, the original trailer for Phantom Menace. I couldn't remember if, in my mind at least, that you saw the double-bladed lightsaber in the trailer. I don't remember if that's correct or not, but I remember being like, I think that came out when I was in high school. I'd have to think about which grade, because now it's long enough ago that's happening. But we were all just sitting there glued to it, just like. And I was just trying to explain to my daughter earlier, who's 9, and my kids are really getting into Star Wars, and I showed them the original trilogy first, and I was just saying, like, those lightsaber fights were really awesome, and they're very dear to my heart. I said, but I told her, I was like, you kind of experienced it too, right? Like how radically different. And how fast, and like it was just such a deliberately different kind of scale. I think of that fight, and that was just, I never get tired of it. Sometimes I'll just watch the scene, like just go back to it on YouTube, good old YouTube.
Yeah. And it's he ignites the lightsaber when he fights Qui-Gon on Tatooine, but he doesn't do the double blade. It's not until they're the Duel of the Fates that he hits that second blade, and so. Awesome. Well, I just
reading it in the books, that fight I seriously cried at the end of the fight reading it in the books. It was crazy. Of course, I was how long ago was that?
26 years.
Was it 99, right?
Yeah, May 1999.
Yeah. So
that was in the last century.
Yeah.
I was already an old lady with kids, so whatever, boys. No.
Yeah. Before we kind of get into the kind of the nitty gritty of Maul, his kind of life story, but just off the top, why do you think he's such an iconic villain? Is it because is it the double lightsaber? Is it just his look, or is there something else to him? Just wanted to get y'all's quick takes on that, if you have anything to say, if you have one.
Visually, the look. I mean, we have just the obvious icon of Satan going there. So they didn't hold back on being blunt and in your face, and at the same time very subtle, because he said almost nothing.
Right.
So when you first met him, it's like, whoa, okay, this guy just speaks with his lightsaber.
And I'm pretty sure from just, interviews and stuff I've seen over the years, like Lucas had said that, he had not just the sort of Christian iconography, but he had looked at several different religions and different traditions and said about how common horns were, right, as a sign of evil, like across all these different sort of faiths and such. And, he used that. But if I remember correctly, I think the one line that he has, really, or like the speaking part that he has, I think he says, "Yes, master." So, there's but that whole sentence he has, to Palpatine on the balcony, I think it's dubbed. I don't think it's Ray Park, because they said his voice wasn't a good fit for it. So I thought like he's kind of used to embodying Maul, but having someone else do the voice, I think that's something that he's kind of, okay with, it seems.
Yeah, I think he says two lines. I think he says, "It is time we'll take our revenge on the Jedi," I think is the gist of the line. But yeah, that's basically all he says in episode 1. He says a lot more later in Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah, he's very chatty in the others.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's just I think it's the look, like you said, Kathryn. I think it's the double lightsaber too. I think that's such a iconic part of Maul, because it's not the first double lightsaber we've ever seen. If you've read any of the old, now Legends comics or books, they had a double-bladed lightsaber Sith, Exar Kun, who was like thousands and thousands of years before. So I don't know if Lucas was drawing from that, at least as an inspiration for the double saber, or if it's just, he had that idea as well. But yeah, definitely that. And then I think one of the big themes of his character is, which I think gets explored a lot more in Clone Wars and some of the books, is his anger. Like, he embodies that more than any other, I think, more than the other Sith we really see, like, except for maybe Vader. But I think his anger is just one of the biggest themes of his character, and he's been trained that way by Sidious from a child, basically, to have an anger and hatred for the Jedi.
Well, and I think that, and it's so difficult, maybe impossible, but at least difficult, because I was trying to do this in the rewatch. I basically went through everything except Solo, because I'd just seen Solo last summer again, and he doesn't have a huge role in that. It's not hard to remember like what that role involved, but he there was such a captivating kind of presence, I think, that he had. In fact, I have all these in some of my collection here on the wall, all the episode 1 like figures, right? The backboard on the figures was just Maul's face.
Yeah.
I mean, he was absolutely the marketing of that. And really, like, people just found him as such a cool, compelling villain that I just think they weren't satisfied. I never really cared that much about having him back. I never thought about that. But I do want to mention before I forget that I think it was Robot Chicken, which I always love, the Seth Green, whatever, like Robot Chicken Star Wars things, where I believe they show like the funeral pyre scene of Qui-Gon, and they're like, who was killed? The Master, the Apprentice, and like Maul flops out of nowhere, like half of him crawling right over openly to Palpatine, like asking for help and stuff. Palpatine's trying to shoo him away, and he's something like, how did you survive? And he's something like, I was saved by dissatisfied fans, or something like that. Like, he just mentions it on the nose. But I do think there was a lot of fan pressure, and I'm glad they found a, I think, believable way to bring him back. It's a bit of a stretch, but it's, it gets him back, and then everything else can develop.
Yeah, I think his anger too it definitely helped him survive, because it gave him that that thing to hold on to, and coinciding with anger is his desire for revenge against one specific Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, which we'll see throughout the Clone Wars and his stint in Rebels as well. He's very much out for revenge against both the Sith and the Jedi. So he's pretty much just wanting revenge on everyone. So, which will be kind of interesting in Shadow Lord, if he's trying to build up, his criminal empire, kind of what that looks like when he's not trying to I think he still will have the ultimate goal of wanting to take down the Sith, but he's got to build up stuff first. So, all right. Well, I think we can then kind of get into some of his beginnings, his life story, as it were. But, and just out of curiosity as well, how familiar are y'all with some of the, I think it's really it's in the Clone Wars, but there's a few comics and things as well that are canon that show Maul, but, I don't know if y'all, I think we've all seen the Clone Wars at least, but I don't know if y'all have read the comics that kind of give some of this backstory too. But he's a son of, he's Mother Talzin's son. So he's if you remember, Mother Talzin's the Night Sister, Queen Witch, or whatever you want to call her, that we meet in the Clone Wars. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I couldn't find the title, but it was Son of Dathomir. I had just gone through that recently, just on YouTube and some stuff. I'd seen it before, but that's, so Clone Wars and Rebels I had seen when they came out and kind of followed along with his arc. And then, saw his cameo in Solo, but the question I always kind of had, I think that for those of us who followed his story, was that big, like, okay, well then now it's filled in when they did Clone Wars season 7, that kind of gave us him in the Ahsoka thing. But then, like, what happened between Solo and, and Rebels? So, like, that does seem like that makes sense. That's the last big kind of question mark section of his life. So I'm excited for this show.
Yeah. Well, I think the show's going to be between, like, Clone Wars and Solo, because I think this is about him building up his criminal empire, that, building Crimson Dawn that we see in Solo. Right. And then, yeah, like you said, there's that next gap between Solo and Rebels on what happens to him as well. So, but yeah, he's born to Mother Talzin, and he's eventually taken by Darth Sidious to train as an apprentice. I think in the Clone Wars show, it's kind of implied that Sidious went looking for an apprentice from her, whereas I was actually just reading, I've been rereading the Plagueis novel, which is not canon, but it basically is canon.
I agree.
Where he was taken as an infant to be begotten away from Mother Talzin, and the Dathomirian who took him was basically just trying to get him away, and she happens upon Palpatine, or Sidious pretending to be Palpatine, and she just gives him up to him. So there's a little bit of a difference there, but I don't know that we haven't really gotten that initial story, I don't think, of Maul being given to Sidious one way or the other. But that could be an interesting something we see in the flashback in the show or something else down the road. But
it seemed like was it the comic or in Clone Wars, I forget which, where Mother Talzin made it sound like he was stolen from her. So I don't know how that's actually going to go, but it seems more dramatic that way anyway. And I think when he talks in Rebels, he kind of makes it sound like he was stolen away from his mother.
Yeah, but she was also kind of using people, and like her other son that we'll meet, Savage Opress, which is just the most Star Wars name of all time.
Savage that's absolutely on par with the whole Elon Sleaze Bagano, from the Death Sticks guy. Like, let's just, go for the Star Wars name.
Yeah, but he's, Sidious trains him, and trains him in the ways of basically as an assassin, and more than he doesn't really envision Maul as being his true apprentice that will eventually overtake him. He's kind of just the tool that is used, because I think we see in the canon now that Dooku was kind of taken on as apprentice while Maul was still around. I think, or it's like right around that same time, if I'm not mistaken. I think we see that in the it might have been the Tales of the Jedi episode where Yaddle gets killed by Dooku, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think they time it right around it, because that episode, or isn't that they have it's like basically Qui-Gon's funeral right around the news of his death, but Dooku, that's like when he leaves the Order, like right at that moment, basically.
Yeah. So Maul's just kind of his tool that he's using. But by the time we get to episode 1, we already kind of touched on it, but we get two lightsaber battles. We get the one with Qui-Gon. That's just Qui-Gon and Maul on Tatooine, and this is the first hint of the Sith that the Jedi have seen in a millennia, as Kaede Mundi says. Whether we count Alkalite or not as anything to as playing into that, I don't. I'll leave that debate for another time. But yeah, Qui-Gon identifies him as a Sith, and then throughout the movie they're contending with the machinations of the Sith, and then we get to the Duel of the Fates, which is just, I still think it's one of the best. Episode 1 is not my favorite Star Wars movie. It's really one of my least favorite, but the Duel of the Fates I kind of envision as its own like mini movie in the middle of it that I just really love that whole scene. And it's just so iconic, like we were talking about.
Yeah, I think I heard somewhere that they even had to almost like, maybe not quite Bruce Lee level, but they had to slow down portions, especially the Obi-Wan and Ray, or like the Ewan and Ray Park portion of it near the end, which is my favorite part of it because it's just nuts. it's so fast.
Yeah, I mean, in the last lightsaber battle we would have seen before this movie was, Vader and Luke on the Death Star, and while it still was a good battle just for its time, they can do a lot more with with the camera work and stuff now to make it much faster pace.
I guess someone who can martial arts.
Yeah, with Ray Park, definitely, because he was. I guess this would have been before X-Men that he was in that movie too. But very, very good martial artist. And the other funny thing about Ray Park is the reason Maul has an earring is because when Ray Park went into the makeup chair, he left it on. He had the earring in, and they just like did the makeup over it, and they never took it out in anything. So that's why Maul still has an earring.
I don't think I ever noticed that. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. Well, and I remember when they did
noticed it today in Rebels.
Is that right? Oh wow! And I think when I had watched that great fight between him, I don't know if I'm jumping around here, but when he fights Ahsoka, and that's just so well, like how far they came over those years, right? With the animation, it's just incredible. And this, of course, this new show, the trailer, I mean, it's like more of that kind of Blade Runner kind of vibe I get off it and that kind of stuff too. But when he starts that fight and he starts that kind of jump move, I was just like, whoa, like something hit me. I'm like, that's Ray Park. And then I go back and I was seeing about the motion captured stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like a kid all over again. It was awesome.
I feel like that's what has propelled him into like super villain you want to watch, because you get that incredible choreography of the fight. Just, it's got the movement, the feel, it moves with the music, it moves with the visuals, and especially when they're like in unusual places for their fights. And it's just, that's what makes him, I think, as one of my daughters says, my man Maul, because he's just that cool to watch.
Well, it's actually kind of funny because for some reason there's been like 2 or 3 separate reasons in like the last month or something. It's a short amount of time where I've ended up sending that little GIF of Qui-Gon like meditating with like the shield in front of him and Maul pacing as some sort of encouragement to someone, for them or for me, about like, just be at peace, be patient in the moment. And then I always have to follow it up with like, maybe not the best example because Qui-Gon dies like 30 seconds later. So, so I feel like I have to find maybe a better patience gift to use. But yeah, there's so many aspects of that scene that just never go away.
Yeah. But of course, Maul gets, he's standing over Kenobi while he's hanging on, and he's about to, he thinks he's going to win, but Kenobi's able to, make the jump and get Qui-Gon's saber and is able to cut him in half. And he falls, and that's what, gives basically Kenobi his knighthood, is because he defeated the Sith. That they mention he passes trials, but I think his main trial is, defeating a Sith Lord. And then several years pass until somehow Maul returns. So so that's so now we're jumping to the Clone Wars episodes, and these I think I gave them the last time in our last podcast, but these episodes are in season 4 of the Clone Wars. I think it's episode 21 and 22 of that season. but Dooku had wanted to basically get his own enforcer, and so travels to Dathomir and gets basically a Maul 2.0, and so he requests one for Mother Talzin, and they go to, in this society, I guess the women kind of rule over the men, and the men are just kind of there to be servants or muscle or be turned into Sith apprentices or whatever. So Dooku goes and they get one, and it happens to be Maul's brother, whose name is, as we said, was Savage Opress.
Which they actually made fun of in a later Clone Wars episode.
Oh, did they? I don't remember that.
Yeah, there was another bounty hunter that was in the mix in the fight. And he goes, "Who's this guy, Savage?"
Yeah. Yeah, they know. No,
yeah.
They're well aware. Which and I gotta say, I love how often Clancy Brown shows up in the Star Wars universe. I'm just waiting for Mr. Krabs to, be working, in a diner. So maybe he's in that diner Obi-Wan visited, Yeah,
but yeah, if you haven't seen these episodes, though, they are very good and are very interesting, because Dooku starts taking him on as his own kind of apprentice and enforcer, but it was really a plan by Mother Talzin to try to get power over Dooku, by having, and this is also around when Asajj Ventress, who was a Night Sister, and the reason he was going to get Savage is because Asajj, and he was kind of turning on her. So, but it's all kind of a plan by the Night Sisters to try to poison Dooku, and Asajj is really kind of the controller of Savage on that mission, to go kill Dooku, basically. So, but then he and the Night Sisters fail in that attack, and he, through their force magics, and Savage had also been kind of turned by the magics into a, he got an upgrade with the Night Sister magics.
That green smoky steroid.
Yeah. Yeah, but she sends him to find Maul, and that's when we learn that Maul is alive somewhere. So I don't know.
That was one of the best Star Wars reveals ever. I remember watching that the first time, and just, she's like, "Your brother," and then you see the crackly image of his face, and I was watching that going, "No way, it's Maul." I think that's when I got all of my girls hooked on watching the Clone Wars with me, because I thought, "Mom, you're just watching a kid's cartoon." They were all teenagers or older then, so it's like, no, you guys got to watch this with me.
Yeah, I think I didn't start seeing the Clone Wars until they put season 6 out on Netflix.
That was about for me too, because I didn't have Disney, whatever it was, Disney XD.
Yeah,
right. I think back in the day, and I didn't have access to that, so
yeah. I did see the Clone Wars movie when it came out, because I was in college then, but I was in college, and so didn't keep track of the show, but I did see the movie in theaters. So which is funny now that the Mandalorian Grogu is coming out and the baby Hutt is coming back, but
right.
But yeah, so I think I had known or seen that Maul came back in this show, and I thought that was like, that's kind of strange and weird, but
yeah, I didn't see it before I heard about it, so it was a little later for me.
But it is the arc in the show is very good. So they did it in a way that makes sense, unlike episode 9.
Well, and kudos to Sam Witwer's voice acting, because he just, I don't know what it is. He just I just rewatched it, and it's like all I can describe is like kind of like a Shakespearean kind of madness. Like he's just so over the top, but it like works when he's just totally out of his mind in that cave with the spider legs. I'm like, what
Spider Maul
is this?
Yeah.
Like, oh man.
But it's funny, you look at Maul's, like his whole look, his face and everything. If anything creature could survive by being thrown in the trash, it's Maul. There's like times where like you capture a rodent or something and you put it in the trash and you wonder, is this thing going to come back to life?
Gosh, yeah. Trying to squish a tick, and it just makes it through, or like there's just these things that are meant to survive.
Yeah. Because he's on this trash planet, and I don't think it's ever said or revealed how he gets there. My headcanon is, I guess, kind of that he was in the trash heap on Naboo, and they shipped their trash off to this planet, or and didn't see what was there. But yeah, Savage finds him, and he's been driven mad by his anger, and that's really the only thing keeping him alive and being able to, I guess, feed on whatever unfortunate creatures come into his path.
You mean from his golem-like snake friend?
Yeah.
I have all of these, like, I constantly get these ideas for these fun, like, sort of Star Wars from the angle, right, of like the other people around. So what just popped in my head was like the trash guys. The trash guys on Naboo are just like, rummaging through it, and one guy's grossed out. He's like, "Oh, Steve, what? This is so gross. What is it? Half a Zabrak over here." He's like, "I've seen worse. Just load it." Like, we don't have time for that.
Yeah. Well, that was a Robot Chicken sketch too, where I think it was like three episodes in this sequence, but the first one was the janitor on Naboo, and when Maul's body falls in, he's sweeping it up, and he's like, I'm tired of this. I'm going to leave this and get off of here. And
That's right.
And then he's the janitor on Coruscant when Mace Windu falls, and and then he's like, I'm done. I'm going to go get a job on this Death Star thing, and then he ends up being seeing the Emperor's body fall down. So. But yeah, that's another Robot Chicken sketch. But yeah, so Savage takes Maul and takes him back to Dathomir, and Talzin uses her magics and some other droid parts to kind of give him some more normal robot legs, and he has basically one thing on his mind, and that's revenge against Kenobi.
You gotta love the evolution of his legs, though.
Yeah.
So from his own derangement, and he thinks he is just a bug to be squished, I guess, he starts with his spider legs. Mother Talzin takes a bunch of battle droid parts to give him these crazy animal-like legs, which, quite honestly, I guess I would have been bummed, because he looked bummed when he got his Mandalorian legs, because he lost a lot of really cool functionality with Mother Talzin's like animal robot legs, quite honestly. So.
Yeah, but he so after being kind of given those, he goes on a rampage and takes some hostages, because he's again trying to draw Kenobi out, and but that's when actually Kenobi and Asajj team up. Asajj shows up to try to fight against him. So and then in that fight, Maul and Savage, they escape and are found later drifting through space by Death Watch, the Mandalorian. So this is, I'm a big Mandalorian fan, so this is what I think I like the most, is this series of episodes where Maul is making alliances with Death Watch and stuff. So but before we move on to that, did y'all have anything else to say on the first part of Maul's being found by Savage or anything?
No, not really.
It was interesting to see how many episodes it took for him to call Savage by his name.
Ah, yeah.
Because it was just brother.
Yeah.
An apprentice,
An apprentice, yes.
Yeah, because he starts
quite a while.
Yeah, because he starts wanting to claim the mantle of Sith himself. So, but that's when they're found by the Death Watch, and we'd seen the Mandalorians in Clone Wars before, so this is not our first introduction to them or the Death Watch, but he basically makes an alliance with I believe it's Pre Vizsla at the time, and they start taking over various crime syndicates like Black Sun, and there's a couple other ones that names are in. I think they also take over the Pikes. They also go after the Hutts. They're basically going after anyone that they can get under their thumb, because it's all planned by Pre Vizsla wants to take back Mandalore from Duchess Satine, who's Obi-Wan's ex-girlfriend basically.
Well, not really ex-girlfriend. It's like one of those great romances that never happen. She has her duty, he has hers. Come on. I know these ships. I know the Star Wars ships. So.
Yeah, I really want them to write
We also get Bad Girl Bo-Katan, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, although I think she showed up in the first set of Mandalorian episodes, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we don't know who she is yet either, because you don't find out that she is Satine's sister until after Satine's dead. But yeah, I want them to write a book about the Qui-Gon and Satine's kind of, or Obi-Wan and Satine's kind of because it was Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan went on that mission to keep Satine safe during a Mandalorian civil war. So
right.
Which that'd be a great period to explore with books of like a Mandalorian civil war, because Mandalorians love to fight, so
just a little.
Yeah, but Satine's in charge of Mandalore, and basically the Death Watch uses Savage and these other crime syndicates to, in kind of a false flag operation to make it seem like they're being overtaken, and that Satine can't do anything because she's a pacifist at this point. And they don't really have a standing army, the Mandalorians. I don't think. They're kind of basically just, they have a few security forces, but bad things happen when Mandalorians all start to build up an army. So I think she's wanted to keep that from happening. So but she can't protect them from that. So, and that's when Pre Vizsla comes in and saves the day, quote unquote, by getting rid of all these criminals. And then that's when things kind of start to fall apart for old Pre Vizsla, because Maul decides he's not content with just having an alliance with him. He wants to be in charge himself. So they have their nice showdown, which I think is a cool. And it's also, we'd seen the Darksaber before as well, but this is where Maul claims the Darksaber from Pre Vizsla. So he's the first one after Pre that we see that actually gets it, and that kind of sets off a chain of events that we see all the way into the Mandalorian show. So it's cool that they've been able to mine, go back to Clone Wars and mine additional content from that to develop the all the TV shows that we know and love.
And quite honestly, rewatching it, and I was watching it with two of my daughters just not too long ago. They were like just blown away, going, "This is the most graphic children's cartoon on Disney," especially the scene when Maul is, finally plays his final card to let Vizsla know this is his game plan all along. And you watch a decapitation that's only barely cut out of the scene.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
I'm sort of a guilty pleasure of mine is occasionally different people have done it on YouTube, but those little, compilations you get where it's like, yeah, Star Wars, it's like, yeah, sure, Rebels is a kid's show. Yeah, sure, Clone Wars is a kid's show. And it's just nothing but like this montage of just really dark stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh my, yeah, no, not exactly.
Yeah, Clone Wars definitely more so than Rebels, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't see the head get lopped off, but you see him bowing his head, and then the next scene is like you see the body just laying there. So,
mm-hmm.
And yeah, then
if you look at just the right frame, you don't actually see it getting lopped off because there's a person standing in front, but the head's a little too far away from the body.
Yeah. Well, and that's what sets, and by all rights, he's the ruler of Mandalore now because he claimed the Darksaber, according to, that custom. But some, like Bo-Katan, decide to fight against him, but some stay with Maul, which, I've heard them called the Mauldalorians that are his kind of, his group of people that stay with him and eventually make horns on their armor and stuff. But, yeah, he becomes the leader of Death Watch and, starts to secretly rule Mandalore through, I forget the guy's name, but Olmec, I think, the prime minister guy.
Yeah.
While Satine is in prison, but he still has Satine on. He still has revenge on his mind, so he's going to use Satine to get to Kenobi.
Always back to Kenobi.
Yeah. Well, that's why in a couple of decades he'll be wandering Tatooine screaming Kenobi's name.
That's another clip I never get sick of.
Kenobi!
Kenobi!
Yeah. That's one of my favorite behind the scenes thing when you actually see the original like footage in the sound booth, like when Sam Witwer did that.
Yeah.
It's just He must have been hoarse for days after that.
Which, by the way, there's this, because it's Sam Witwer, this brings to mind. There's the podcast Pod of Rebellion, which is some of the Rebels voice actors all kind of rewatching the show.
Okay.
It's Sabine, Hera, and Ezra. The actors are doing the podcast, but they just got to Twilight of the Apprentice, and they've been interviewing Sam Witwer the last couple weeks on the podcast. So if you want more insight about Maul, definitely check that out.
Nice.
But we'll get there in our discussion here in a bit. But yeah, Satine gets broken out by Bo-Katan, and they're able to contact Obi-Wan, who comes running to save his girl, because maybe not, but I think he knows Maul, how dangerous Maul is, because he just fought him, and Maul's been kind of loose in the galaxy. So he gets there and briefly saves her, but they're shot down by Maul, and he brings them before him, and he just straight up executes her, so leading to his heartbreak.
Best line ever. I always loved you.
At least he didn't say, I know.
That would have been perfect. No.
It's like, that's Han's line.
He said it with his eyes.
Yeah, but then Bo-Katan comes back, and she's able to save Kenobi, and they help him. She helps him escape to tell the Republic what's happening, and while that's all going on, Maul then gets captured by Palpatine, and Savage gets killed. So,
but you wrap that big, huge scene up in like not even a sentence. I mean, wow. Visually, there's so much going on in that moment, including one of the best reuses of a Picasso.
Oh, really?
The wall in Mandalore. It's all the black and white painting.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. So that's what's amazing about Mandalore at that time. The artwork makes a huge difference in what you're watching, including just it's called a lajin, the shape that's on all their armor in the center of their chest plates and the windows and things like that. That's supposed to be a symbol of strength and security. And there's times where you see those broken, and then something tragic happens, and so it's pretty. The artwork in just that 1, 2, 3 episode arc was just fabulous.
Wow.
Yeah, and at that point, Palpatine tells him, he's got another use for him, or he'll find a use for him. So, and that's the last we see before. Because that was all before Disney bought Star Wars, or bought Lucasfilm, so that was kind of the end of it that we saw. And it wasn't until Disney bought Lucasfilm that they initially put out the Son of Dathomir comic, which I think I've read it, but it's been several years, and I read a little bit of a summary. But I think, Mike, you said you had recently gone through it again, so I don't know if you want to speak on that.
There was a good dramatization where they basically, it was the YouTube video, it was about 40 minutes, I think, where they just, went, it was like someone reading it to me. They were like voice actors and stuff, almost like a little visual, audio drama kind of thing, which was cool, as best you could get without it being redone. Now, that being said, with AI, somebody has basically taken a crack at doing the first scene, which was pretty good. Some of those AI Star Wars channels are better than others, but yeah, it was neat because it picked up with him in captivity. Because you just see Sidious frying him, right? That Clone Wars. It's like, I have other uses for you, or something like that, and it's like, what? So then he just has him in prison. Rook cast, and I think, I could be wrong, I think it's Rook and
Gar Saxon.
Oh, Gar Saxon. I think it's the two of them that break him out, but it's definitely Mandalorians that break him out. Give him back the Darksaber, and then the kind of story goes from there. But that, of course, leads to the. I'm sorry. I'm familiar with the story, basically. But
no, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I know the basics of it, but
it's just, I think for me, I think the key thing really seems to be that the sort of killing question mark. I don't know how Night Sisters work. I don't know if any of us really do, but the killing of Mother Talzin, and kind of closing that loop in some ways. Like, so he just keeps, I forget where he has that line that he says, I had it here in front of me when, the Sith took everything from me, ripped me from my mother's arms, murdered my brother, used me as a weapon, cast me aside. I once had power, now I have nothing. That just taking him deeper and deeper and deeper into that darkness and despair. Which fuels his power, but again, jumping around, as Obi-Wan tells him much later on too, right? That if you define yourself by that, like if that's all you've got, it's just basically a dead end, which is a good commentary, right, for all of us in one way or the other.
Yeah, and that comic is basically them, Maul beginning broken out of prison by his people, right? And I think he has a face off with Grievous and Dooku, because Mother Talzin, she had been killed in the Clone Wars show by an invasion by Dooku as well. But yeah, like you said, the Night Sisters, they can return.
Because she makes a presence in that, and that's where that's where it seems to me like the strongest, as I understand it from what I've seen, it's the strongest canon sort of suggestion that she's his actual birth mother, because they really highlight that relationship. But yeah, Sidious is ultimately trying to take her out because she's just she's an inconvenience to him.
Yeah.
So he has his plans to kind of really get rid of her. But I don't know. Yeah.
Have you read any of that comic, Kathryn, or know anything about that?
I've not read the comic, but I did watch the YouTube video of it.
Okay.
Which was fascinating, and it also explains why we end up, later on with a Jar Jar Binks episode and Mother Talzin trying to come back.
Yeah. Yeah, so Maul gets back to Mandalore, and and we don't really see. This is something else that would be nice to get like an episode on, and I want them to do like a Tales of Mandalore series where they give us little vignettes of some of the Mandalorians. But Bo-Katan and her group, they learn that Maul has come back to Mandalore, and it's not overt because Mandalore is independent from the Republic. They're not in the Republic, so they're not, the Republic's not worried about what's going on there too much. They're not part of the Confederacy of Independent Systems either, though. They're kind of their own third thing that they're trying to stay neutral between it all. But Bo-Katan finds Ahsoka, and that's in the season 7 of Clone Wars, where Ahsoka's in the second batch of episodes, and then it's really the end of that second batch. It's the one with I think it's the Martez sisters. That Bo-Katan finds her and, basically lets her know Maul has returned, and that they then together go contact the Jedi to, for help, because they know, again, they know Maul's just a threat out there that could cause trouble that they don't need. So, and that's when Ahsoka and Rex and the others clones are sent off to Mandalore to because at the same time the Chancellor is quote unquote kidnapped, so they have to Anakin and Obi-Wan have to fly back to Coruscant to save him. And then that the finale of the Clone Wars arc, it's really the first two are the Maul versus Ahsoka episodes, and then the last two are kind of just the escape from Order 66. But I just really love those last two, or those first two episodes of that arc. And that, I think that fight with Ahsoka is one of the best lightsaber duels that we see. And I would love to see that kind of something like that in live action as well.
Can you imagine seeing that rooftop scene in live action? I mean, I had a daughter that did gymnastics, so I'm watching them on those beams, and I'm like going, okay, did they have like, little motion capture of people on beams doing, some of those stunts? It was crazy.
Yeah, because they're basically fighting. I think they start fighting in the throne room, and then they, basically make their way across the roof of the domed cities, because that's how all the Mandalore cities are domes at this point. But yeah,
I thought it was interesting too that he, you know, knowing his background, his fear, like he has no what's I'm looking for? Delusions about his own ability to stand up to Sidious or anyone else's. Like he's so absolutely, you know, as the old insider, like not even knowing the whole plan, that, you know, the moment he falls, it looks like he's going to fall to his death, and she stops him, and he's just very like, let me go, let me die. Like he's just like, the instant his plan has been, you know, seemingly thwarted, he's like, no, I don't, you know, none of us are going to make it, just let me die. Like there's no like concept at all in his mind that like, well, maybe we'll work this out, or maybe we can take out Darth Sidious. He's just so, you know, sure that it's all going to go Sidious's way.
Yeah.
And back to the iconography of Maul as the devil. He plays it out completely. In every little episode that he's in, he creates division. And it's like, yeah, it's just crazy. Especially those last couple of ones, because he's dividing up Ahsoka's forces. He's dividing up the Mandalorians. He's, you know, everything is just kind of this huge division of power constantly, so that he can try to, you know, create chaos like he does.
Yeah, but they, you know, she, like we said, he's captured, and they bring him on the ship, and they're heading back to Coruscant to deliver him to the Jedi Council. But that's when Order 66 happens, and the clones all start going after Ahsoka, and she frees Maul basically as a distraction. So she eventually saves Rex as well, but or gets the chip out of his head, because the clones have no choice in what they're doing. And Maul manages to escape the ship.
The box. The Mandalorian box for holding Jedis, the ancient tool.
Yeah.
The last one. That was sweet.
I think those are pretty good to hang on to a couple of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They clearly come in handy. And I just love how, like, if anyone's going to have that, it's the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's crazy because that's like an ancient tool from when they had their major epic battle with the Jedi.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's when the Mandalorians were most complete, because they were warriors and very artistic.
Yeah.
That box isn't just a box. It's got a lot of detail to it.
Right.
Yeah, and we see a lot of the Mandalorians when they make their armor. Like the Mandalorians, they decorate them out pretty with a lot of flair too. So, but yeah, Maul escapes, and that's kind of where I think Shadow Lord will come in. So I just thought for a few minutes we could talk about Shadow Lord and just anything, any thoughts or theories on what's coming in that show. I rewatched the trailer, and it's, you know, it was just a very brief teaser. I would imagine because we're about a month out at this point from it premiering, so we might get another longer trailer soon. But what did y'all think of just anything in that trailer that jumps out at you that you wanted to mention, or because it's basically showing Maul's setting up his own operation on this planet. That's, I think they've said in some of the promotional materials, was not part of the Republic, and so it wasn't really part of the Empire, but the Empire's kind of coming to claim it. It's just kind of this independent planet. I forget what it's called, but yeah. Any thoughts or theories for the show, or any hopes for the show that you're interested in seeing?
Well, I was just looking here too, because and I think I misspoke earlier. I was too focused in on the. I think what I meant to say was, and I think, yeah, Jeff, you called it earlier with the official write-up here. Seems like it's, I guess, picking up about a year after him and Ahsoka's fight, you know, and his running off and everything. And I don't know how long I don't know that you can really tell, or if they've said this, but at the end of season 7, or, you know, that arc, when, you know, that beautiful scene when Ahsoka and Rex help bury the troopers, and then that time passes, and then you see the snow troopers and everything. But, you know, I really noticed on this go around that they're very clearly that more like original trilogy Hoth kind of trooper look, you know. And I don't think, you know, we haven't seen, you know, 15 or 18 years go by, but I think you get the impression several years have gone by till they find that wreck. And that Vader's there, and like the whole uniforms are very different for the troopers. So but that same idea that, like to jump ahead a little bit, to now the Empire's really established and now he's out there. And I should have written him down. I watched the trailer shortly before we jumped on here because I hadn't seen it in about a week or two. And he says a lot. Like we were saying earlier, right? From a guy who had barely anything to say in Phantom Menace, he sure says a lot in this trailer. And it's just really cool. Like some of those little hints he's given in there about what he's about make me wonder, too, about some other things I think Sam Witwer has said lately about Maul not being a good guy, but as Sam Witwer put it, that this show's about bad guys and worse guys, so to speak. But that Sam, the hint that he gave without giving too much away that I just heard the other day that sounds really cool, and I'll just leave it with this because it's kind of the coolest thing to me, was that he said that, there was always this strange, for him personally, like in this role and embodying this role, that he found that there was always like this strange hesitation or refusal on Maul's part to kind of give the store away, so to speak. Like, he, as Sam puts it, like he knows Palpatine's identity, which I hadn't really thought of. But Sam was saying that, like Maul this whole time, like he knows who Sidious is. Why doesn't he just tell somebody? Right? Like he's not, he's clearly not on Sidious's good boy list. Like what's, he's been fried, he's been imprisoned. Why not just ruin the whole thing? What is it that kind of keeps that commitment or, he had hinted in Clone Wars when they have that confrontation with him and Savage, and Sidious on Mandalore. Or no, was that on Mandalore?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're right. That he wanted to, he was doing all this to sort of come back into his graces, which is not what Sidious is doing. But I never really knew, like, did he mean that? Is he just saying that, like every kid does when they get in trouble and they're like, this is why I was doing it, like, okay. So yeah, I'm really excited just to see, in one sense, just, the idea of him, kind of becoming this crime lord. But I think there's something deeper going on there. They're definitely kind of getting at. Plus the potential for them to make their own version of Darth Talon is kind of maybe cool. So, yeah.
I just want to start watching The Godfather before I watch the Maul show.
Yeah.
I've got a funny feeling there's going to be a few carryovers there. Got to look for oranges, I guess.
It'd be Mela runs in Star Wars. Yeah, it's interesting you say Darth Talon because I had that note too. That
okay.
For those who may not know, she's from the Legends universe, but she was actually a Twi'lek Sith Lord. From the future, from kind of like 100 years after the original trilogy. But it seems like he's going to be taking on an apprentice who's a Twi'lek in this show. So, she gets all. I think she's red skinned but then she gets all Sith tattoos and stuff in the comics. So, I'm wondering if that's if we'll see a version of her. Of that character in this, but it also has one of the other kind of holdovers we know from Clone Wars is Rook Kast, who's she's not the armor. I'm 99% sure she's not the armor because Bo-Katan knows Rook Kast, so and she doesn't seem like she knows the armor. But Rook Kast is voiced by Vanessa Marshall, who voices like Hera, Syndulla, and a lot of other Star Wars characters. So I think she voiced her in the Clone Wars as well. But I'm interested to see what role Rook will play in this show, and potentially other Mandalorians that we. I think the main Mandalorian we know were Gar Saxon and his brother, but I think they stayed behind with the Empire. So I guess Rook is like a true believer, I guess, willing to follow him. So, but yeah, then, we'll have to table the Shadow Lord discussion until the show's out. And we'll be covering that in, when that comes out, of course. But then we kind of jump to where in the timeline we see him in Solo, just at the very end in a cameo, he's created this crime syndicate, Crimson Dawn, and is familiar with Kira, who was Han's girlfriend. So, I don't think, I know they've done some Kira comics, but I don't think they've been ones with Maul in them. So I think they were hoping probably for a sequel to the Solo movie, and they never got it. So
that's my guess. Yeah,
they probably kept that. But yeah, for people who were not familiar with Clone Wars, seeing Maul show up here might have been quite a surprise. So, but
yeah, that's right. I always felt like they were just like, wait, what? Isn't that guy that was cut in half? Like, what's he doing here? I was like, well, reference the aforementioned robot chicken thing.
Yeah. And direct people to watch Clone Wars, which I think Solo came out in 2018, and so and Clone Wars was on Netflix by then, so people could find it. And then now, of course, it's all in Disney. But but then probably, let's see, I think Solo is like 10 years between. It's kind of right between the prequels and the sequel and the original trilogy. So in the next one we see Maul, he shows up in Rebels. He's on the Sith planet Malachor, and apparently I didn't realize he was stranded there for that long, but Wikipedia says he was stranded there for 5 years.
Yeah. Because the only thing we have as a reference again is that Solo time marker, and then he shows up, in I think 3 or 2. It's 2 BBY, I think they say oh darn, yeah. I keep getting my series mixed up in Rebels. Yeah.
2 or 3 because Twilight of the Apprentice is season 2, and there's so it's right around that time frame.
Yeah. So at least 5, maybe a little bit more. Yeah.
But yeah, like you said earlier, Kathryn, that's when he starts. He meets up with Ezra, and he starts kind of placing those seeds of division, and starts calling him his apprentice and saying he's
right away.
Yeah. Doesn't waste any time.
Think of it this way. I mean, you have the whole conversation of Eve with the devil.
Yeah.
And here you have Ezra with Maul, and he asks him, "What's your name?"
Oh, yeah.
And you can call me Old Master.
Old Master, like right away.
Oh, beautiful.
Like, come on.
So yeah, this whole name game. And then when he finally tells Maul his name, it's like that's when everything just starts slipping. You start hearing
because at first he says, "Come Jabba."
Yeah.
I'm Jabba.
Call me Jabba. He's like, "Oh, hello, Jabba." Like, yeah. Like Maul just plays along.
But it's fun just to hear the way the music changes through that. And I was just watching it today and listening to even the background sounds change. You get this deep, cold wind that starts blowing. And it's like, ooh, don't tell him your name.
Yeah, but he starts because he's being hunted by Inquisitors, which I think in the trailer for Shadow Lord we do see an Inquisitor, and I think it's Marok or Marok from Ahsoka, but I could be wrong. That's coming cool. After him, but yeah, the Inquisitors are seemingly after him, or after this Sith temple that I think that's what Maul was looking for initially, because this is how it's a giant weapon that he wants to use that will, I guess, do something to take out Sidious.
Kill all life.
Yeah.
That's what it says it does.
Okay.
And I love Ezra's like, no.
No, I don't want that.
That's not.
But it was interesting to think. I want to know what led Maul to be there in the first place.
Right.
Did he know? He must have known Ezra was coming, his little crazy premonitions. But the fact that all the Inquisitors only call him Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay. So that'll tie in great with Shadow Lord.
Yeah. So. Well, you can imagine he's been running his criminal empire that's probably been a thorn in the Empire's side, because part of Solo was them stealing a fuel shipment for Crimson Dawn from the Empire. So yeah, he's probably been a thorn in their side, and then they eventually figured out it was Maul still alive, and so that's what the Inquisitors were sent after him. But they should have known better. They should have known those Inquisitors couldn't handle Maul, because he makes pretty quick work of them, even when fighting alongside Kanan and Ahsoka and Ezra, because Ahsoka's the only one who knows Maul from before, and identifies who he is in that episode. But yeah, then he he blinds Kanan, and then Ezra kind of starts to realize, okay, maybe this guy's not the best guy I should follow.
Especially since it's all taking in the midst of a Pompeii-like frozen battle. It took me a couple watchings to finally realize, they're in a crater of a dormant volcano that has several crusted layers.
Yeah. But he's able to activate the weapon and is about to destroy all life, but Kanan and Ezra are able to stop it, and Maul just, again, he escapes. He's very very slippery that way. So but then he kind of, for season 3 of Rebels, becomes a foe to the Ghost Crew a little bit, because there's a couple episodes which don't have to go in too much detail in, but he needs some information that Ezra has from the Jedi holocron, and there's a Sith holocron that they both need to try to figure out how to help each other, because Maul still wants to destroy the Sith, and that's when they put the holocrons together. That's when he gets the vision that it's a planet with twin suns, which of course is the hint that where he's going to Tatooine, and he still has his revenge kick against Kenobi, and yeah, that's where we and there's another episode where he and Ezra are on Dathomir, and that's when we get kind of more Night Sister stuff going on, where Ezra wants to get some information, and they have to pay a toll to the Night Sisters, and the toll is their lives, basically. But they're able to stop them and escape, and that's where Sabine gets the Darksaber, which of course comes back into play in later in Rebels and in The Mandalorian. So
I'd forgotten, I knew she got it, but I couldn't remember the circumstances. That was interesting then when they walk into his little lair, and I mean, it's such a mess. I was joking, I was imagining it would definitely take something out of take you out of the scene, but I almost imagined you see empty pizza boxes and stuff in the back. He doesn't get a lot of company, but that the Darksaber's sitting right there on a Star Wars fan hilt display, it's the same kind of, it's that's it's like something I've got back here, there it is. But and then that she ends up with it. Yeah, that's because, I mean, that weapon alone has such a cool story. I feel like, have we done that before? A whole episode of it? Yeah. Probably.
We could. Yeah. I mean, that's basically Clone Wars and Rebels and Mandalorian are the story of that sword. So
I think I dropped my coffee cup when Moff Gideon, you just see the blade come out the side of the TIE fighter. I'm like, no way.
Yeah. As an aside, so my wife has not seen The Mandalorian before, so we're watching it before the movie, and before we started, I was like, okay, we need to watch the Trials of the Darksaber episode, and we need to watch the Rebels episode where they go to Mandalore, because those are very important to The Mandalorian. So I said we need to at least watch these. Nice. But yeah, then Maul finds his way to Tatooine, and that's when we find him just wandering the desert, screaming Kenobi. And Ezra had a vision, and so he's going to Tatooine as well. So it's everyone's kind of all going to Tatooine. It's why does everyone always go there? Everything happens on Tatooine.
Always comes back. It's for the Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World fans out there, right? It's always demons, it's always aliens, it's always Tatooine. We got to add that to the list.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was all kind of a trap to try to find Kenobi, because Ezra had gotten some knowledge that Kenobi was there. And Maul finds Kenobi and starts to wonder, why are you here? Why are you here? Why would you be on this backwater planet? And that's when he realizes he's protecting someone.
I wondered, because that's a question I have too. How does he, they have their parting moment there, and he just asks, is he the chosen one? And it's how does he, what's going on there? How, what does Maul think that means? What, I've always been curious about that. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but yeah, that pops in there. Like, what would that be? And yeah,
it'd be interesting because of the way the conversation he had with Ahsoka when he's trying to tell her, "Hey, we got to end this," or you've got Anakin's going to become what he's going to become, and to me, when he says, is he like the chosen one? He has peace at that moment, so he knows that at that moment that the revenge he wants is going to happen, but through someone else. So I guess maybe he finally accepted his savior.
Because what does he say? He says, he will avenge us.
Yeah, I think so.
But I'm like, who's the us? Like, him and Kenobi or him and Savage?
I think, I think us is kind of there's all the Jedi who were killed through Palpatine's, machinations and Maul and all the people, and all the and the Night Sisters and his, because that's his family.
That could be, so because that's the common enemy. So yeah, if this chosen one, of course Obi-Wan says is Luke in that scene, we'll take out Palpatine, then it's the slate's wiped clean until he, of course, comes back.
Yeah,
but that's
until
somehow he returns.
Yeah. Well, and then in their final duel, it's because it was interesting that the way they ended Maul was not in a big lengthy duel with Kenobi like their first one or like his duels with Ahsoka or anyone. It was like 3 moves, and he tried to do the same move where that's how he killed Qui-Gon, where he like strikes him in the face with like the hilt and then stabs him through the middle. But Kenobi doesn't. He doesn't fall for that move, or he is able to but it's a very quick like 1, 2, 3 thing, and then it's over. Like it's very, very quick, and then they have that final conversation where Kenobi defeats him, and he does grant him a Jedi funeral pyre, because that's how the Jedi are basically put to rest, is through a funeral pyre. So, and that's why Vader is Anakin, I guess, is burned at the later on, because Luke's giving him a Jedi funeral. But yeah, then he finally finds, so there's finding peace in death finally, after his, he's basically been tortured almost his whole life by Sidious or other people. And so he finally has that peace. And, just because it's Star Wars, I have to say the end ? Because, anyone can return, even Palpatine somehow. So, all right. Well, I think that gets us through kind of the life story of Maul. Do y'all have any final thoughts on the character of Maul? Anything else on just why he's the villain we all love to watch what he does, or any other thoughts for Shadow Lord or anything?
I'm just looking forward to it. Yeah, it's rapidly approaching, and I think there's a lot of potential, to really kind of fill in some of those gaps we were talking about, and reprise this. I mean, I don't think, at least, my group of friends looking forward to this, that, we've been talking about it from time to time, and I mean, nobody's nervous about it. I think it just seems like it's probably going to be a good experience. But and it's honestly, it's longer, I think, than I thought it was going to be. I forget here, how many episodes is it again? Is it 10?
I think it's 10. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good. What was Clone Wars season 7 was, I think, 8, wasn't it? It was the 4-episode Bad Batch arc. That's right. And then but so that was more. But yeah, I mean, really dedicated to his character. That's going to be some great content.
Well, great to see what kind of visuals they come up with, how they'll evolve the artwork and everything. It's been wonderful to watch just what they've done with Star Wars animation over the years. So this will be another interesting step.
Yeah, going from Clone Wars, that 2008 movie, all the way to now, where it's like some of the backgrounds look just realistic. It doesn't even look like animation. They've just progressed it so much. So awesome. Well, just to kind of give everyone a heads up on how we're covering Maul, because they're releasing 2 at a time, basically. So it's going to be 5 weeks of 2-episode blocks, but we're going to cover each by itself because we want to give them all their own due. So we'll have we'll be starting in, when the show comes out starting in April, we'll cover Maul episode by episode. We'll have to have a brief interruption in May for The Mandalorian and Grogu when that premieres. So, and then we'll come back to finish Maul. So the podcast will get behind, but we want to just make sure we get every episode and get all the details that we want to talk about. So that will be our last. So this is our last episode until our Maul coverage begins. So since that'll be a more weekly structure for a while, but all right. Well, I think that is it for this episode of The Secrets of Star Wars. We'd like to take a moment to thank all of our patrons who make this show possible, including Paul B, Chris N, Bradley J, Cynthia A, and Rebecca Z. Their generous donations at GiveStarQuest.com make it possible for us to continue The Secrets of Star Wars and all the shows at StarQuest, and you can join them by visiting GiveStarQuest.com. And be sure to follow The Secrets of Star Wars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your favorite podcast app, or on the StarQuest YouTube channel. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, on X where we are at SQPN, or on Instagram where we are at StarQuest Network. And be sure to get your official Secrets of Star Wars gear at sqpn.com/merch. And now we'd like to hear from you, our listeners. What do you think of Darth Maul as a character, and do you have any predictions for this new series? You can let us know by sending us an email at starwars@sqpn.com, on our social media pages, or by leaving a comment on our channel on the StarQuest Discord server, which you can find at sqpn.com/discord. So join us next time as we continue Maul's journey when we discuss the premiere of Maul's Shadow Lord. Until then, thank you, Kathryn Lafrey, for joining me and sharing the secrets of Star Wars.
Thank you, Jeff.
And Mike Creavey, thank you as well.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. See you soon.
And once again, I'm Jeff Haecker. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Star Wars on StarQuest.
Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Star Trek. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Star Trek.